the NBA continues to actively screw the Toronto Raptors as this team is trying to put together their final offseason moves, trying to finalize the roster, and it can't happen due to some of the latest developments from the Kawhi Leonard investigation. So we'll discuss that, the new updates on that front, as well as a former Toronto Raptor once again finding a new team, finding a new squad that Raptors fans have been hoping for a return with this Toronto Raptors squad. We have a new update on big man, rim-running, shot-blocking center Christian Koloko. So lots of stuff we're going to dive into out here in this video. But folks, I appreciate all the support we've been getting over the course of this summer. The Raptors are currently in limbo right now, but we have not stopped giving you the content, giving you the latest updates, even when my camera's frozen. So if you are a part of this 57% that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet and you want to stay up to date with all of the latest Toronto Raptors news, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because we got a lot of reports, a lot of updates on what's going on with not just this Kawhi Leonard situation, but also the hunt, the pursuit of Demar DeRozan, because we've talked about it. We've talked about the mutual interest. We brought it up how, according to sources close to Demar DeRozan, he would welcome a Raptors return if everything works out. And people in the front office of the Toronto Raptors are interested. Dwayne Casey, former Raptors coach, has spoke about how great it would be for Demar DeRozan return to the Toronto Raptors. There's been reports after reports after reports about the Toronto Raptors getting some buzz about making Toronto Demar DeRozan return during this Toronto Raptors renaissance, with Kawhi Leonard, of course, being on the way back, obviously, ideally, and we'll take some looks at the updated Kawhi Leonard situation right now, but we do have some insights, we do have some updates from Shams Charania about this DeMar DeRozan sweepstakes, because as he brought up a couple of days ago, DeRozan, I'm told the Miami Heat, Denver Nuggets, and Cleveland Cavaliers are among the teams interested in DeMar DeRozan. So what is happening? Well, the Cavs since that time have signed Mario Hezonja, adding another roster spot, but the Cavs still seem to be in the DeMar DeRozan sweepstakes, as James Harden's relationship with DeMar DeRozan could play a pivotal role in DeMar's potential interest into Cleveland. So that's coming from Scoop B, who is, in tune with some stuff, did not some different things, but also we have this update from Shams himself about a new team entering the sweepstakes, as the Washington Wizards have reportedly had conversations with DeMar DeRozan within the last couple of days. Now, the Wizards are a team that make more sense to me as a landing spot than any of these spots that we've seen, the Miami Heat, the Denver Nuggets, and the Cleveland Cavaliers being brought up. Of course, the relationship with James Harden, they didn't land LeBron James. They just brought in Hezonja. There's talks about Jonathan Kuminga, ended up signing there. But basically, we've heard some buzz that there's going to be no major swings from the Cleveland Cavaliers side. So that's one thing to bring up. Of course, the Denver Nuggets, they're under the second apron after everything that's gone on, and reports have come out today that Peyton Watson is looking for a contract bigger than Christian Barnes, which would put him in the $20 million per year range. So I don't know how they're going to even think about signing anyone if a deal is going to happen there. And then also the Miami Heat, they're interested in shooting. It's their utmost priority, and that's why they're very interested in Klay Thompson. So the DeMar DeRozan stuff, it is heating up. There are teams all across the league that are very interested in bringing in a guy in DeMar DeRozan to be, is willing to sign on a league minimum contract, willing to bring him in for, to come off the bench to start for your team. He averaged 18.4 points per game, played 77 games last season, it should be noted as well. 36 years old, 2.9 points per game, 4.1 assists. DeMar is still that elite level player. DeMar DeRozan is still extremely effective at this game. And then if you add him alongside a Kawhi Leonard into this, system, into this Raptors team, you upgrade Brandon Ingram to Kawhi Leonard, who's averaging 28 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists last season, 1.9 steals, 0.4 blocks. I mean, the Raptors are going to be nasty, man. I've stood on this. I've stood on business with this. The Raptors, they need DeMar. So the Wizards getting in the mix now. We've seen some buzz out there on the Detroit Pistons, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be super active. Mark Stein did say the Pistons are still evaluating the prospect of pursuing DeMar DeRozan in free agency. It's just a lot of teams getting in the weeds, getting in the mud to try to acquire DeMar DeRozan. So what the heck is going on? Because obviously we've been waiting. We saw Kawhi Leonard appear at the Kyle Lowry press conference. He was all vibes, feeling good and all that. But basically, we've had these latest updates in terms of the Kawhi Leonard situation. So Brett Siegel's come out and said that both teams are currently in a state of limbo, unable to finalize the rosters or make further moves until the situation is resolved. So, this is why you haven't seen much out there from the Clippers or the Raptors side, because we need to know what this is going to look like. And the main reason for this is there's growing buzz that there's widespread speculation about potential punishments, including fines or suspensions for Kawhi Leonard or the Clippers. Analysts suggest that if a suspension occurs, the trade might need to be amended to reflect the reduced value. So this is something that's been coming up more and more out there in this discussions, in these updates regarding Kawhi Leonard. The trade right now, in terms of Kawhi Leonard coming to the Toronto Raptors, Brandon Ingram and Gradey Dick are on their way out. But along with that, we have one pick swap out there in 2027 and then 2 unprotected first-round picks out there in 2030. So basically, Kawhi Leonard is coming back, and it was for a very expensive price. If the suspension, if there's actual punishments being thrown the way, being levied at Kawhi Leonard, then don't be surprised if we see some adjustments, some amendments out there to this deal, to this trade. And that's what the Toronto Raptors really should you be pushing for if a deal does end up going down, especially where the amount of time it's taken, right? We're missing out on these other players. You want to see at least one of those picks removed out there in one of these contracts, but this doesn't seem like it's going to have an effect on any of these deals, as despite the uncertainty, players involved in the trade, such as Brandon Ingram as well as Gradey Dick, have been observed interacting with their potential new teams. So this is, all stuff that we've seen, the shots, Brandon Ingram wearing Clippers gear, out there in the weight rooms, out there in these different places. So there's still no indication this deal is not going to happen, but we've seen the buzz, we've seen all the talk, we've seen everything that's come out about the process moving forward, about all this. I mean, the investigation is done. We saw this from Mike Vorganoff last week. The NBA is just figuring out, it's all in the NBA's hands here now at this point. So the expectation is this trade will still be a go. But the things that can happen that would stop the contract is Kawhi's end up getting voided. But we'll see how that goes. Maybe the league reveals there was no wrongdoing, you go that way. But you could tweak the trade and the terms of the trade and make up for it if it's actually suspended. So multiple insiders have talked about the possibility of Bobby Webster renegotiating the trade if there is some significant punishments. And the fact is, the way the language, the way all the discourse has been coming out in this now, it looks like you're going to be without Kawhi Leonard for a stretch. So having a bucket getter, having DeMar DeRozan, who can be an impact player on your roster, becomes more and more important. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think Toronto Raptors will be able to, it's the Seth Lundy. This is an old quote that we had, but Seth Lundy will likely get a roster spot. But do you think DeMar DeRozan will be a Toronto Raptor? Let me know in the comment section down below, because we're missing out on everyone, including a guy that Raptors fans have been interested in for a very long time, and that includes Christian Koloko, as the New Orleans Pelicans and Christian Koloko have agreed to a 1-year deal. He'll compete for the final Pelicans roster spot after stints with the Toronto Raptors, Los Angeles Lakers, Memphis Grizzlies, and Atlanta Hawks over the last 4 seasons. So Koloko, another rim-protecting, rim-running big man. The Raptors continue to pass up on opportunities to bring him back, to sign him. So, wishing the best out there for Christian Koloko. Again, former Toronto Raptor, a guy that I liked, I thought had high upside, but couldn't make it happen. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. Anyways, you're the best. I'm signing out.